Welcome to the Bad Mom Show, where we flip the script on shame, shed light on what's made you feel invisible, and take your story back. It is time to step into that bold, baddie mom you were created to be. Around here, BAD stands for blessed, already approved of, and divinely designed, because you are not a bad mom. You are a leader. You were chosen for your family on purpose. You are divinely designed and anointed as the heart of your home, and you can confidently own your mantle of leadership as a fiery woman to lead with boldness, not burnout. This is your space to reclaim the parts of your story that have felt like weaknesses and discover they were actually your superpowers all along. It is time to shine as a BAD mom. Are you with me? Let's go. Hey, and welcome back to the Bad Mom Show. I am Teresa Todd, your host. And if you're new here, welcome. If you've been around, so good to see you. And I'm so excited to be back. Summer break is done. Last week, we celebrated a birthday. The Bad Mom Show turned 1. I'm so excited. So if you missed it, go back and listen or even watch it because it was a fun episode. We did it live, so it was a little different. And today begins a new season of the Bad Mom Show. And I have a super special guest for you. She is an incredible woman. She has a great expertise that I know we're all going to relate to and glean a lot of wisdom from her help in this department. But she is a dear friend of mine. Girl, we go way back. I love it. So I'm going to introduce you to Miss Nadia. Well, Nadia Fiorita, but we are married now. Will you pronounce your last name for me?
The extra last name is Sementilli.
Sementilli. There's a
Yeah,
lot of letters in that one.
it's long. Yes,
But you say it better than I do.
yes. I've had some practice.
Girl, okay, so we go back to like middle school, high school days. Nadia and my sister grew up together in the same friend circle. So obviously I knew Nadia growing up. And then we met, we reconnected over,
Mhm.
in adult years, in business, working with Amare in our mental wellness company, providing holistic health support for people in that department. And that was really fun. And you have just developed such an expertise, and I love your niche so much. Not to talk like social media ways, but truly, like everybody has a niche and expertise and area. Otherwise, you're not really serving anybody. But I love yours probably because I can relate to it a lot. And I think most women can, as we were talking about before the show started. And it's helping out anxious, high achieving women. I could read your bio. I'll read little bits of it, but I know you're gonna share a lot more wisdom with us today than this can say about you. But you are a licensed therapist. You do focus on anxiety, and you're specialized in helping anxious, high achieving women to create calm and more balanced lives without sacrificing their success, which is huge. You've got tons of experience in the mental health field. And yeah, I just love everything that you do. And I just wanted, this conversation has been on my heart for so long because every time I see one of your posts, which if you don't follow her, you really need to, um, I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's me. That's me too. That's me too. So people, it's like, even when you're doing your work, it's not that you ever fully arrive. So it's okay if you're like, why do I still feel this way? We can all relate. But that's why we're here, because we tell it straight on the Bad Mom Show. So share a little bit about how this became your area of focus and what it really means to be an anxious, high achieving woman.
Yes, thank you so much, Teresa. I'm so honored to be here and happy first birthday to the Bad Mom Show.
Woohoo! Thank you.
Congratulations. I love your podcast.
Oh, thank you.
It's so good. It's so powerful. It's amazing.
Oh,
Um,
thanks, girl.
so yeah, I've been in the field for a long time now, over 15 years, which is crazy to say. And the way this all came to be is kind of interesting because I started in private practice working with anxious teen girls.
Okay.
And then once I really started feeling more, not confident, but once I started kind of growing in my private practice, it organically grew into working with anxious, high achieving women. And if you follow me on social media, you know that my platform really blew up when one of my reels went viral. And
Yes.
it was a very simple reel. Um, but it basically spoke to what we think of as high functioning anxiety. And just a little side note here, high functioning anxiety is not a clinical formal diagnosis. It is something that's been spoken about more commonly. I think a lot of women resonate, and the response and feedback that I got from that reel really kind of, I think, how can I say this? It basically told me that this was something that a lot of women in particular struggle with. And with that reel, I started just kind of seeing organically this population and this niche. And it's also something that I have personally lived with myself. And basically, how I like to describe high functioning anxiety or an anxious high achiever is someone that really looks put together on the outside, confident, successful, socially, you know, outgoing, but internally really struggles, overthinking, anxious thoughts, a lot of worry. Perfectionism is a big one. Procrastination can be a
Mm.
struggle. And I know so many women relate to this because we function. We show up at a high level. We carry a lot, we balance it all, and yet internally our experience can feel very, very different.
Ah, yes. I'm like, yes, me too. I can totally relate to all of that. And it's so true. It's like the I'm fine. Everybody's fine. We know how to put on a happy face, but that inner turmoil, it really does eat you alive. And then it leads to another host of issues, right?
Right. Right. And I think before we got on the show, you started talking about like, you were asking yourself like how does this come to be? How does this happen? Why
Yeah.
does it happen? What are the causes? And I don't think it's simple. I don't think it's one thing. Um, the one thing that I've really been thinking about and kind of marinating on is how much we expect of women
Mm,
in modern times. Um, and I actually think there's a podcast that your audience would really love. It's on the CEO Diary, and it's basically a conversation about feminism and what it's done for women, but also, has it gone a little too far? And now that women are really in the workplace, how does that affect us? Because we've now, become successful boss babes, right? But
right.
at the same time, we're still the homemaker. We take care of the kids. We manage the household. We carry that mental load. So this doesn't really answer your question about how it comes to be, but I think one of the things that we need to think about is how do we live right now and what are all the expectations that are placed upon women? And then to me, it makes sense. Oh, well, no wonder why we're overwhelmed. No wonder why we're anxious. No wonder why we're exhausted. And I think the other thing with high achieving women is we feel like we can't talk about it
Mm,
because everybody around us like expects us to just handle it all and do it with grace and do it with strength and do it with confidence. And we can. And at the same time, we're still holding so much in. So I think that's a unique challenge that comes. And you can speak to if that resonates with you or if you've had that experience.
oh my
I
gosh.
actually think your story is like really it kind of speaks to this because I know when we were in business together, that was a pressure that you felt, right? Amare
100%.
making it to that next level, ranking,
Yes.
making it financially, like, and I remember, and I think I've seen it over the years. You've really kind of, I don't know if you would say struggled to figure that out, but I think you've had to get to a place where you're like, I'm a mom and I'm a mother
Yeah.
and I'm the heart of my home and I'm gonna embrace that. And so I was thinking about you and sort of the expectation that we have on women and how your story is very um I don't know the word for it. It's just it's special and I think it really kind of speaks to that struggle that women carry.
Yes, it's 100%. And that's why I was like, we need to talk about this because, and that's like, I will be very honest about my story on this show, too, because that's how we relate. And you said so many good things in there about like, yes, the expectations that we've put on women. But I think it conflicts with at a heart level because you and I love Jesus. So we do talk about faith here. And you can't we can't talk about this without talking about divine order and, how God created us as women. I think that there's that conflict inside of women, like, okay, I want to be a mom. I love nurturing my family and being the heart of my home. All that sounds wonderful, but it's hard and it's isolating. And especially in this day and age of social media, I see all these other women being these quote unquote boss babes, with their perfectly curated feeds and they're influencing and they're side hustling. And it's like, oh, I'm not doing enough. I should be able to do both. How come I can't do both? And it doesn't, it immediately becomes something about your identity and your worth, and that being at home and being a mom and not being seen by the public eye is somehow less valued than being able to do both. And, I do share that about my story because, well, and that's another big piece of it too. When we talk about where things come from, it could be from something about how you grew up. But, I think a lot of women can relate to that performance mode, like, and it turns into striving and hustling and comparison. It comes with a lot of perfectionism and people pleasing. But the problem is that your inherent worth as a person is now attached to everything you do. And like in my case, I had three kids at home. I had just had, I think I just had my baby, my youngest, Lulu. I remember like pumping at events, like, and or holding her and nursing her on Zoom calls for this, company which I loved. And I'm very passionate about holistic solutions. So, it sounded right, like this is a
Yeah,
good thing.
right.
And everybody else was doing something like that on the side and doing well. I was struggling because the fruit wasn't there. And, like I was doing okay, but it was sort of like this hamster wheel that I could not get off. And I felt so much pressure to do well in business. And then I was frustrated that it was harder than I thought it was going to be. But then I would turn around and almost be like resentful of this young family I had at home that needed me. And I just remember my husband one day saying, like, I feel like you could work 24/7, literally. And and then just watching my nanny take my kids out to the playground and thinking like I should be doing that. And so it is this tug of war of like, I'm not doing enough in business. When I'm with my family, I'm thinking about business. But then when I'm in business, I feel guilty that I'm not with my children because I can be, like some people have to work. I didn't necessarily
Yeah,
have to work.
yeah,
I put myself in that position because achieving success and performing well was my go-to. Like that's how I grew up. That's how I got attention, really, like good attention. And it becomes sort of like your automatic way of operating without stopping and slowing down to understand your motivation. I think that's when we get really stuck in this tornado of like, it's never enough. I'm hopeless. Then my head's gonna explode. And it's like there is so much anxiety that comes with it. So tell me if I spoke direct to, do I need a therapy session? Probably.
Well, you have Jesus too, so
Amen.
yes.
Yeah.
Um, no, I think you're basically speaking to that very real internal struggle that women carry and hold and experience. And I think you are speaking to something that's really important, and it's how God created women.
Yeah.
And God created women to be mothers and wives, right? And I think that's counterculture
Right.
for what, society says about who women are, what they should do, what they should value, how they should spend their time, what they should look like, and et cetera, et cetera. I'm not
Yeah.
saying women shouldn't work. I
Right.
work, I love like that's not what I'm saying. That's not the message that I'm speaking, but I think that's part of why there is a conflict because it's biologically in us that
Yes.
we have children, take care of those children, be present with our children, nurture our children. And I think it kind of speaks to, and I know you've struggled with this, like the mom guilt,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Like that's a big thing. And it's really interesting because another thing that you've talked about on your show too is the difference between guilt and shame,
Hmm.
right? And so I think this is really important because when I hear women speak about the mom guilt, and it comes up a lot in my sessions and private practice, I wonder to myself, I'm like, is it guilt? Because what are you doing that's wrong?
Right.
If guilt is I did something wrong and shame or unworthiness is I am wrong, right? The shame
Yes.
is an attack on your character, who you
Yeah.
are. Um, and you're going to work to be able to, let's say, financially provide for your family, or because it's something that you've done in the past and it's important to you. Are you doing something wrong? I
Right.
think guilt doesn't necessarily encapture what someone is actually genuinely feeling in that moment. I'm not saying they don't feel guilt. What I'm saying is there's probably also confusion in there. There's probably
Mhm.
also overwhelm in there. There's probably also sadness in there. I think, you know what I'm, does that make sense?
Yes.
Like,
Yes. I think you're 100% correct. That word gets thrown out there really flippantly, I think, and people say it, but detached from like the root of like, wait, why do I really feel this way? Like I'm sure you do this with your clients, like even just taking that pause to be like, okay, but what are you feeling guilty about? What you're doing doesn't sound like a bad thing. Like you're not abusing your children or something, like we all have bad mom moments where maybe you yelled or you
yes,
overreacted. Okay, now you feel guilty. You're like, oh shoot.
right.
But that's more like conviction. Like, I know I shouldn't have done that. Let me go. I need to repair that. Like
Yeah,
that was my bad. Yeah.
that's an adaptive feeling, and it basically it gives you the urge and brings you to, okay, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have.
Yes.
I know what I did was hurtful, and I want to apologize and take accountability for that. That's really
Yeah.
healthy. So
That's
when you have
good.
those bad mom moments, that's great,
Right.
and
That
that's
actually
so
relieves the
important.
anxiety.
That's
Repair
right.
relieves anxiety.
Yes.
But you were absolutely right. I think that people call it mom guilt, but truly it's something deeper, and the root may be shame, but it can come out in all these other ways, even angry,
Hmm.
but fearful, like all the unworthiness, insecurity. Um, and then I think a lot of women isolate, like you said, like nobody wants to talk about what they're struggling with, and putting on the performance again that like everything is awesome. It's just further like keeping you in that spiral um, of it's never going to be enough. I'm never enough. I'm up at 2 a.m. like having anxiety over everything that I did wrong yesterday or didn't finish, and now it's on today's list. And like you wake up overwhelmed before the day even starts. And I'm pretty sure that's not how we were created to live.
Right. That's right.
Um, so you mentioned something that I wanted to touch back on about how God created us. And I like that you said like it's not that women shouldn't work. God actually commanded Adam and Eve um, to work the land, right? That they
Mhm.
have authority over the earth and its animals and it's, to tend to the land and all the things. Like we are meant to take action and to do work, but there's become, like you said, there's such an emphasis on like what work, the definition of work. And do you find a lot of women come to you feeling like being at home with their kids is not technically work, it's not enough work? Or do they feel, is it more of like what's going on outside of the home, or is it just a combination of all of it? Hey, friend. Thank you so much for being here and following the Bad Mom Show. I would love to hear from you, so let's connect. After the show, send me a DM and let me know what's hitting home for you. What do you struggle with the most as a mom? And what topics would you like to hear more about? This show is all about connection in the community because that is how we truly grow. So reach out to me at the Teresa Todd on Instagram, Facebook, or even TikTok, and I cannot wait to hear from you.
That's a really good question. I think it's all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to speak back to what you said about that your identity, your sense of worth comes from how much work you get done, or
Mm-hmm.
how productive you could be, or how busy you are, or how many things that you cross off the to-do list. And that's such a like small fraction of
Right.
who we are. But I think there's such an emphasis on work and having careers and being professionals. And again, I'm not demonizing that at all.
Yeah.
Um, and I think in fact, there's this movement that's happening where women want the best of both, right? Like they want to be able to provide and work, and yet they want it in a flexible way. They don't want to
Yeah.
have to take on a corporate job and go to an office and commute 9 to 5 and get home late and work after the kids are in bed because their plate is so full and their job is crazy. Um, but a lot of what I see is that the identity is so connected to how productive a woman is. And that is just a conversation that I have over and over again.
Mm.
And you really have to untangle that. And it's like, where did that come from? Who makes that rule? And
Yes.
what are your priorities actually, right? Like, especially for women who have younger children
Yeah.
and they have these big jobs, they struggle a lot because
Mm-hmm.
they're missing out on these precious moments, on this time, and just being there with their children. And it breaks my heart because I'm like, what you're experiencing, it's valid.
Yeah.
It's totally, it makes sense. And at
Yes.
the same time, then you have to start to really kind of shift things, help them shift things and help them to really figure out what their priorities are. And what I find most, well, I think what women tend to struggle with also is that when they start to prioritize the home life, whether it's their relationship with their husband, being there with their children, they feel like a failure at work. And they feel like that's really going to hurt them. And that's something that really seems to come up a lot as well.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, I can totally see
I don't
that.
even know if I answered
You
your
feel it.
question.
No, it's okay, but this is where we're going. This is where we're meant to go. So, what do you like? I'm sure listeners are like, well, what do I do then? Like, how do people start to untangle that? Because it's true. I mean, I know I have my own ideas, but if they're if it's like, okay, I know what I want my priorities to be. And again, like there are different seasons of your life, like there might be a season where you really do need to prioritize the kids and the family time. And then there might be a season where like you do have more free time and you feel a calling and a purpose. That's, I think, different work than um, feeling the pressure to be seen as successful or again, like I just think there's so many opportunities to compare ourselves to each other and that it will always comparison is the thief of joy and it literally will make you feel like you're not enough. Like you are not doing enough, but I guess when women say that and you're like, but you're now you're feeling guilty or now you feel like a failure at work. It's like, how do they stop that pattern? Because it's a mental pattern. Like we're constantly taking in information and feeding it through our belief system, which is then
Mhm.
like creating the reality that you see, basically. Like
Yes.
all of us are seeing something different based on the thoughts that we are keeping. And I talk about this at my live events. Like we have so many negative thoughts a day. It's like it's some
It's
insane
crazy.
amount. And like 95% of our thoughts are negative or something ridiculous. They're unconscious. And then like 80% are negative. So it's like
Right.
when you think about that, you're like, okay, maybe I need to like slow the roll for a second and
Yeah.
think about what I'm thinking about. I don't know. I mean, that's why I would love the Bible because all the neuroscience stuff is in there already.
Yes. Yes.
And I love that there's a lot of information out there about nervous system regulation and neuroscience right now. It's great. But um, what do you tell them when they say that and they're like they just are like, well, how do I stop this battle in my mind?
I think you're bringing up a lot of like really good points and asking really good questions. One, I think I would say you have to get real about what your career, work, or tendency to overcommit at work and is costing you.
Mm,
I was going to say more, but I think essentially that's one of the things that you have to do. And that takes self-awareness.
hmm
And that takes you stopping and being like, what's going on? What am I feeling? And why am I feeling this way?
hmm
And I think for a woman who has a big job, needs to work for her family, um, oh my God, I just lost my train of thought.
Oh, good. So what's going on? What am I feeling and why?
She experiences a lot of negative emotion.
hmm
Okay. When she's at this place of, I'm working too much, I'm not around my husband, I'm not with my kids, I'm missing out on all this stuff.
hmm
And so I think she experiences a lot of overwhelm, a lot of frustration, and she gets mad at herself
hmm
because there's a belief that she should just handle it all and do it all. And it's like, I think I posted about this recently, like we are human beings. Like I know there's like all this like technology happening, but we're literally not AI robots. Like, but
Right,
we
right.
live like we are. Like we're human beings. We're precious. We're special. We have feelings and emotions and
Limits
what?
and limits.
Yeah, exactly. Like real limits.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a lot of capacity to hold a lot. You're resilient and you're strong. And you also like you need to really take a step back and say, what am I doing? What's really important right now? And if staying at home or having more time at home with my kids is more important at this moment in my life, at this season, how do I reconcile that?
hmm
And so I think like for me at least, the women that come in that are really kind of struggling with this, they experience a lot of negative emotion and they bring that emotion in and we're like, okay, let's talk about it. What's going on? Can you reflect on all of the emotion that you've been feeling because this is continuing to happen and we haven't been able to like intervene and break the cycle and really kind of start to shift things. For some women, it's like, okay, maybe I need to figure out how my schedule looks like on a smaller scale, or I need to step back on certain days of the week. I mean, that's actually what it needs to look like.
Yeah.
Um, and I hope that your audience can relate to this. I'm sure everyone has a different circumstance. Um, And I think you hit on something really important. I think a lot of the times we're so overscheduled, we're so overcommitted. We want to say yes to everything because we believe that we should do it all and handle it all and carry it all, that
Right.
we don't have time for ourselves.
Hmm.
And so I really like to encourage my clients, are you writing down what you're thinking about? There's a concept called metacognition, and it's like thinking about what you're thinking about. Do you have awareness around like what is going on in your mind? And we need to because we're having so many thoughts in a day. The majority of them, what is it, like 80 or 90% are subconscious,
Right.
and the majority of them are negative. So we want to be able to like bring them to light and like take a look at them, not in an obsessive way, but in a way where like we're really kind of becoming more self-aware, discovering what's going on in our minds because it's our thoughts are super powerful,
Yeah.
and being able to gain clarity on that and say, what am I thinking about? Are my thoughts anxious thoughts? Are my thoughts angry thoughts? Um, I can't tell you enough how many times I tell women to journal, write it down. I don't care if it feels silly. I don't care if it's inconvenient. I don't care if it's uncomfortable. Of course I care, but like that's how important it is. You know what I
It
mean?
really is. Yes.
And I
Yeah.
think that's a tool that you've incorporated,
Oh
right?
my gosh. Yes. I think it's so powerful. You have to slow down because it is a cycle and it is so automatic. And so if you don't stop to think about what you're thinking about, when like you feel that rise of like irritability and frustration, you know, it's going to come out somehow. And usually it's going to come out sideways at the people you care about the most, which further feeds the cycle of shame because now you further feel like a
Then you
bad
feel like
mom
crap
and a
about
bad wife. And you're like, ah, yes. And then you isolate and you don't talk about it. And then you just stay in your shame spiral. Am I speaking to anybody? I think so.
it.
Um, I don't know. I can't relate. No, I have no idea what that feels like. No. No, we can only speak about the things that we have experienced ourselves. So I totally get that. And it wasn't until I started doing my work on like, okay, where does this come from? What is the root of this thing? And again, work in progress. There's always another layer to that. Um, but yeah, when you slow down and you think like, okay, even when you were giving that example, every thought example was a negative one. Like I'm not doing enough at home, like um, I don't have enough time to be with my kids. I'm missing out, all of those things, like
I
even
have
just
too much to do at work.
I
I'm
have so
behind
much
at
to
work.
do.
I'll never
There's,
catch up at work. It's like even if you just speak it out loud, you're like, do you hear the thoughts
wow.
that are in your mind? Like,
Yes. And it causes a physiological reaction. Like I started getting a little tense. I was like, oh God, I'm sweating over here. But so you're right, when you slow down and you write it out, like, okay, this is what I'm actually thinking about. And then what is the feeling? It might feel like irritability and frustration on the surface, but really underneath it, maybe like you are sad that you're missing out on stuff with your kid because you are the breadwinner and you do have to go to work. And that makes you sad. And that's valid. Like you should grieve something that you feel like you're missing. Or is it time to reconstruct the schedule, like you said, and create more freedom in your life? It's your life. Um, or, maybe it's fear. I think a lot of times that's under there, like that, that you are, do you hear women say a lot of times like disappointing, that they're afraid they're disappointing their their kids or their husband or
yeah,
or
and I think that contributes to the overwhelm and the frustration that they have with themselves because they get angry at themselves that they're disappointing people.
yeah, The
And it
hardest
happens on both
taskmaster.
sides. It can happen in home life with your husband, your children, your family members, your friends, if you're canceling on them, but it could
Right.
also happen at work. And I think, I mean, we haven't even touched on like corporate culture and the toxicity, but like it's
Mm.
that's
You
a
can,
thing.
you can say something about that if you want to.
Well, I haven't really spent any time in corporate culture, but it's all that. It's the major it's a lot of what women bring to me in session and the level of expectation and work that corporate culture demands is
Mm.
it just kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, it's unhealthy.
It's unhealthy and we feel like we just need to do it, like
Right.
buckle down and like just get it done. And it's like, well, really? Like
Yeah.
so
Like
I
rest is not a word there now.
no, and it's at least in my professional experience, it's like you're slowly taking away your health and well-being and wellness and sanity for what?
What?
I
Right.
mean, I think like that's where you're kind of getting at the root of it. It's like, well, what's actually driving what you're doing right now?
Yes. What is the motivation?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think women in the workplace is another whole, I think, conversation, right? Because we're very different
Yes.
from men. We want to take care of people. We want to, I think like we're much different leaders than men are. Um, we want to say yes. We want to be helpful,
Oh,
all of the
yeah.
things. Like, um, so I think like that's another conversation in and of itself. But
No.
and I think what we were kind of speaking to before, I think some of the women that I work with are kind of saying like, well, maybe I don't have to do this. Maybe I don't have to work in corporate America. Maybe I could do my own thing. And I
Mm-hmm.
think there's so much opportunity in that area
Mm-hmm.
that is really amazing for women because they're actually stepping back and saying, well, I have skills, I have abilities, I have expertise, I have knowledge, I kick butt in this area. Like I'm gonna try to do my own thing. Um, because I think it feels very different to build someone else's business than to build your own business. So
Yes.
yours.
Again, yeah. That motivation's very different.
Right.
And even, like speaking to the stay-at-home moms, I know that you grapple with the same feelings because I see it all the time of like um isolating and doing everything on your own, not wanting to ask for help because you got to like prove that you can, even though no one's asking you to do that. It's like it's the internal voice, right? And we are the hardest on ourselves. Or getting overly involved in like volunteer stuff at school and,
Mm,
you know, I have to be part of this Bible study. And it's like all of those things can be good things on their own. It doesn't mean that they're not. But if it's leaving you stretched beyond your capacity and then coming home frustrated and overwhelmed and now you're snapping at your husband or your kids because you feel underappreciated and you really are over you do have too much on your plate, like this busy culture. I feel like that's a really big problem too. It's like I'm so busy. But why do we have to be so busy? I just did a podcast episode about like creating more white space in your day because that's that's when you can rest and rest is important. We are, like you said, biologically human beings are need rest. Spiritually we need rest. That's literally when you hear God's voice. You don't hear him when you've got 12,000 things going on in your head and a podcast on the radio and you're doing, five other things at the same time. Like you are
the
not.
level of multitasking that women do is crazy.
Right. Like, who's handing out the award at the end of that day? I don't know, but it never comes. And I mean, it's sad to think about, but like, what there's like some statistic about people at the end of their lives, and they say the one thing they always say is they wish they worked less.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
like, why you have that chance? Like, you don't need permission from somebody else. Again, if you're in a position, a work position where you're like, I have to go to work, okay, but you can still find windows of peace for yourself. And I think too, like we don't give ourselves credit for all the good things that we do in the day. We're so focused on what didn't get done and how we fall short. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a cycle and that's a trap that you have to become aware of when you, like you said, start noticing your thoughts. Like
Yeah,
gratitude is a really powerful force.
very
I've actually,
powerful.
yeah, a friend of mine's very good at it, and she's really helped me in that department because she's always seeing the positive of something, and I'm like, you're right, because you can't be grateful and like grumbling at the same time. You really can't.
Yeah. Yeah. It is like a neuroscience hack for sure. Can't be grateful and anxious or worried at the same time.
Ah. So I have 1,000 other things we could talk about, but we're nearing the end of our time. What? Because I think we're gonna need a part two. I mean, that's just gonna have to happen. But what would you say if you could like that, like giving our ladies a simple tip? First of all, I hope you feel seen while you're listening to this. You are most definitely not the only one. If you're feeling this way, if you're anxious and you're high achieving and you're driven, it's like the tug of war of like these are good qualities and there's lots of good things I could do with this, but again, like what's the motivation and like is it creating peace and fruitfulness in your life, or is it creating anxiety and stress and frustration? Um, those are two different fruits for sure. So, what would be something just really like a simple hack that they could implement right now, whether they're at work or in the carpool line or out for a walk? Walking is good, also regulates your nervous system. Get some sunshine.
Oh, there's so many.
I know.
I mean, I think walking is incredible. Um, I think we've touched on two today that are simple and at the same time practical. And I think that's what really, really busy and overwhelmed women need is
Yes.
simplicity and something that they can actually do and take action on. Um, One, I think even if you're in your car, in the car line, I mean, not while you're actively driving, but try to just be mindful of your thoughts. Take out I mean, I like to handwrite. I think it's super powerful to do that. But
Me
if you
too.
like doing it on your phone, you can just take out your notes app and just start kind of letting the thoughts flow. Put them, I think there's something so powerful about getting them out of your mind and onto a piece of paper or in your notes app. I think that's super powerful. I think it'll give you some clarity around why you might be feeling overwhelmed or worried or anxious or frustrated. Because I think a lot of the times women come to me like, I don't know why I'm feeling this way. And then we start to like untangle things and then they're like, oh, of course, like that makes
Right.
sense. Part of that is really understanding what your thought process is. Um, I mean, I think we didn't even touch upon the faith part
I
really,
know. I
but
know.
I I would say prayer and worship music.
Mm.
I think worship music, listening to worship music changes your state physiologically. I think it changes your environment. Like even before we got on the podcast this morning, like I was, I do have the house to myself this morning, but I was, I put on YouTube, I blasted some worship music and it made me feel so much better.
So
Um,
powerful.
so powerful. That's a simple hack. But it works. It's effective.
Yes. And me, the faith piece is huge. The the Bible talks all the time about taking your thoughts captive,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what you just instructed us to do. Renewing your mind every day,
Mm-hmm.
so that we don't stay stuck in these old cycles of thinking, stinking thinking, as people call it, because it is an old archaic, like when you really start doing your work, that stuff, you are so, it is so hardwired into you now because you've been operating that way since you were a child.
Right.
It really does take that slowing down and awareness and taking those thoughts captive, but then holding them up to the truth. So if you don't know the truth, which is God's word, it's hard to hold it up to that light. but his word will speak truth to you. If you're not sure how to read the Bible or where to even start, reach out. I'll help you out, right? I love bringing people to Jesus.
Yes.
But in a fun way, right? Because he loves that you're driven and he loves that you're a high achiever. He made you that way, you know? So it's like we don't need to demonize those qualities about ourselves, but we might be operating out of the wrong motivations, which, the battle is won in the mind. We're going to just keep popping out the scripture ideas. Um, but the Psalms always talk about like David will lament and talk about like how he's in like literally like a pit, but then he
Yeah.
always turns around and he worships and he praises God and it changes him. It changes the atmosphere. It changes his mindset. It changes his how he believes about himself and then the next actions that he takes.
Yep.
And the same goes for us. Like you just try it in your house, even. If the kids are acting a mess and you're like, there, chaos is ensuing, and you can feel the blood pressure rising, just put on some worship music. I guarantee you it changes everything. Everybody will calm down or start dancing or singing or something, but it will not stay chaotic anymore. Um, and so that's a really great tip. I love that too. So take those to heart, people. And there's so many more awesome things that you share. And I want people to follow you because your content is so helpful, but it's also like really fun. And I love fun content. So where can people find you?
My Instagram handle is at holistic anxiety therapist.
Okay, at
Yes.
Holistic Anxiety Therapist.
Yes.
And then if ladies want to reach out to work with you, I
Hmm.
know you work in only specific states, or do you?
For therapy, I'm licensed in Florida and Connecticut.
Okay.
So if you live in one of those states, you could reach out. My website is nadiafiorita.com. And I also do coaching, which is crazy to say, but nationwide and worldwide too, because we're virtual.
Isn't that so
Telehealth
cool?
is an amazing thing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a gift. That's awesome. Okay, well, go and find her. Take those tips to heart today. Put on your worship music, open the Bible, speak some truth over your mind, but take the thoughts captive, write them down. God did not give you a spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. That is a sound, clear, calm mind. That is how you're meant to operate. All right, girl. I could say so much more or listen to you say so much more. We're going to have to come back for part two.
I would love a part two. Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And as always, new episodes of the Bad Mom Show drop every Wednesday. So I will see you next time. Bye, girl.
Bye.